Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. It's week number 17, we are in Group 1 machinery and we are heading to Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes region of Belgium. So let's take a look at the detailed settings for this one. We have 10 laps to get round, fuel consumption at times 2, tyre wear at times 8, and once again we have the racing soft and the racing medium tyres available, which is going to mean we have quite a long pit stop to negotiate and a good bit of strategy in there to boot. So that is a pretty good thing, considering last time we visited this car track combo around about 3 months ago. It was just a boring no stop. We were on the hard tyres, there was no strategy involved whatsoever just because of the long pit stop. Spoiler, the pit stop is even longer now, but a much more exciting prospect for this race just because of that fact that we've got the soft and the mediums, and it's almost 100% certain that they're both going to be mandatory, so definitely going to be a pit stop involved. Makes this a much more exciting race in my view, so let's move on with the strategy guide. And first up, let's take a look at some of the cars you may be driving this week. So we've got the Audi R18 LMP1 on the screen. Now this is the go-to qualifying car for Spa because its hybrid is very powerful over the course of one lap, but it does suffer in terms of hybrid and maintaining that hybrid over the course of the race. Next up we have the Porsche 919 Hybrid. Good handling car, no hybrid issues with this one, although it can be kind of awkward with the gearing. It's got 7 gears compared to its 6 gears on all the other cars, and that can present a few issues just in terms of finding some consistency and flow. If you don't want to drive a hybrid LMP1, the Peugeot 901 is a pretty good prospect. It does suffer because it's got no hybrid out of the slow corners like the chicane and La Source, but it's got a much higher top end. But of course the car we're going to be driving is the Toyota TS050. It's the easiest car to drive out of the modern day LMP1s. It's got the best hybrid battery, so it lasts for the duration of the race without any kind of management, although it can struggle on the top end down towards Le Combe chicane and the final chicane after Blanchimont. So first thing we're going to do before we move on to the strategy in full is find out a little bit of a benchmark. Now what do I mean by a benchmark is just to find out what kind of pace I can do on the medium tyres. This gives me an idea when I then move on to starting on the soft tyres, what kind of lap time I should be kind of taking as a reference as when I would actually be quicker on the medium tyres. Now we did a 159.0, but I'm pretty certain I could do a 158.5 or 6 on the mediums. So that was the reference lap time as we moved on to the soft tyres for the start of this full race run. So once we got to a lap time of around about a 158.6 or 7, I knew we were in that window where we should be looking to make a pit stop and move on to the medium tyres. So we're heading down to Radion and Eau Rouge here for the first time. Do keep the Toyota in 5th gear if you're going through that world famous piece of racetrack. You maintain a much higher speed down the rest of the straight by doing that. It is tempting to move up into 6th gear, but just keep it in 5th through there and you should gain a little bit of lap time. Just a small bit of advice just at the very beginning of this run. We will transition though as we exit Le Combe here on lap number 6. Now we've gone possibly a lap too long here. Lap 4 was a pretty poor lap, to be honest with you, on the soft tyres. Kind of brought it back on lap number 5, but I was in very much two minds. Do I pit at the end of lap 5 or do we risk another lap here on the soft tyres? We decided that since this is a test, we're just trying to find out the actual life of the soft tyres, that it was worth heading out in there to do another lap and see what kind of lap time we were looking at. So as we come down towards the second sector, we should get an idea of whether we've made the right decision or not. So if we're going to be heading here to some kind of lap time in the 159s, it looks like we probably should have pitted on lap 5. And we're 1.3 seconds off our best, so we are looking at a 158.8 to a 159, so it's right in that window. I think the kind of lap 5, lap 6 is very close. If you're on the pad, probably lap 5. If you're on the wheel pregnant looking after your tyres, maybe a lap 6. But we are now going to pit here at the end of lap number 6. We're going to put on the medium tyres and you're going to see just how long this pit stop is. Now it was pretty long previously, even before the changes to the pit stop times. I think it was, in fact I'm actually telling a lie there, in Group 1 it was actually quite a short pit stop. I think it was only 6 to 8 seconds. But you can see we've still not actually made it into the box here. 26 seconds to get from the pit entry into the box, get the tyres changed as a further 5.7 seconds, and out into the racetrack we come now with a 26-second pit loss. Quite realistic in all fairness, although it can feel like an awful long time when you're sitting there in the game. Fuel is of no issue whatsoever, of course. I'll repeat what I say in the last 3 or 4 strategy guides. Fuel just doesn't seem to be something they want to be making us consider in Daily Race C at the moment, which is a little bit of a shame in my opinion. Anyways, let's see how these medium tyres are performing with the low fuel. So you can see our lap times on lap 8 and 9. We've got a 58.4 and then a 58.3. Now ignore the lap time here on lap number 10. We caught one of the AI cars into No Name or Jackie Ink's corner, which cost us that 1.3 seconds there. So we would have been on target to a very similar lap time here on lap number 10. But it looks like maybe lap 6 was just a little bit too long. Maybe lap 5 is the optimal lap time to change from the soft onto the mediums, but it's going to depend on a number of factors as well. You might want to go that extra lap, but the medium tyres, pretty good pace once you've got that fuel burnt off. You're only asking 3 or 4 laps from them, so definitely looks to be around about that lap 5 or 6 is the window. Finishing time up on the screen there, 20 minutes and 31 seconds. Now when you run this race in a custom setting, it is a little bit longer on the first lap, so I reckon the race distance will be around about the 20 minutes 10 mark if once we go into sport mode. So we've moved on here now to take a look at testing the alternative strategies. So that's starting on the medium tyres and then moving on to the soft tyres. It's the sort of strategy you're obviously going to be running if you're starting towards the back of the grid, and then we're looking to kind of get that kind of undercut on the cars around you. So I was kind of curious to see if I could get 7 laps out of the soft tyres, pitting at the end of lap 3 from the mediums. And so you can see the lap times here on the screen. We are asking 7 laps on the soft tyres with 8 times tyre wear around quite a long circuit like Spa. So we are asking quite a lot from the tyres, and you can see by lap number 9 our lap times have started to degrade quite significantly. Not too bad up there till lap number 8, but once we go on to that 6th lap, and we're now on the 7th lap, asking an awful lot of the tyres. And it is definitely possible, but you're going to have to accept that you might have to give up a few positions towards the end of the race, as those drivers on much fresher mediums will actually be quicker than you on your very worn soft tyres. So it's something to bear in mind. It's definitely possible to do the 7 laps on the soft tyres, but you will be pretty slow towards the end. A 59.4 we finished with there. In terms of finishing time, we actually finished around about a second slower than the first run, but that's just it was a couple of instances of AI cars, so obviously very close overall, as you would expect in terms of the 2 strategies in terms of finishing time. So all that information that we've garnered up there on the screen, I won't go through it in too much depth. I've kind of talked about a lot of it already during the course of the video, but you've got 2 options. Obviously it's a one-stop strategy. Both tyres are going to be mandatory. The soft tyres, if you're starting on them with the full fuel, 5 to 6 laps, definitely wouldn't be going any further than 6 laps. You're just going to be giving up lap time compared to a fresh set of mediums. Option 2, starting at the back of the grid, start on the mediums. You can definitely just do the 3 laps on the mediums and then get the 7 laps out the softs, although you will be quite slow towards the end and possibly come under some pressure from people doing the soft medium strategy on their fresh medium tyres. I think for a lot of people you're probably going to be looking maybe to go to that 4th lap, particularly on the pad. These kind of more extreme strategies are better suited to people on the wheel. But that's pretty much it in terms of the strategy. Very, very similar, a lot of these races at the moment, just because with the long pit stops and obviously we're on the soft medium tyres. But hopefully I've given you some useful information there in terms of the strategy. In terms of the cars, I would always kind of suggest, don't just go with the pack sometimes. Test all the cars out, see what one you find feels better. A lot of people, I think, get very much caught up with just looking at the leaderboard and then just going with that car, even if they don't particularly like driving it. For this race, I think the Toyota TS050 is not necessarily the best car, but I think for a lot of drivers it will be the easiest car. It doesn't have the most any issues with managing a hybrid like the Audi. I think a lot of people are going to see Audis at the top of the leaderboard. They're going to go into the race, they're going to run out of the hybrid after about 2 or 3 laps, and they're going to find themselves struggling. But that's it for the strategy. Let's move on to a lap guide in the Toyota TS050. and we shall talk about braking points, references and markers like that. So into the bus stop chicane we're going to come here. We're going to start our flying lap. Incredibly difficult to get this chicane right all the time. I've got the brake balance at +3. The reason for that is even though it's kind of compromising my front tyre wear a little bit, the Toyota is very sketchy on the back end to corners like La Source. So braking just before the 100 metre board for La Source, try and catch that curb on the inside to bring the car around. Be careful of getting on the throttle too early. These cars are 4-wheel drive and can kind of spear off to the left or right depending on the angle of the steering. Up through Eau Rouge, keep it in 5th gear as I said, absolutely full throttle, no issues whatsoever. Be careful at the top, make sure you get the line right to avoid getting a ½ second penalty. Down towards Les Combes now, Toyota TS050 will struggle at this part of the track, and between the 100 metre board and the curb is where you're looking to brake into Les Combes. I'm keeping it in 3rd gear here. You could drop down into 2nd, but I'm just trying to kind of look after the tyre wear. Through the complex of Les Combes, just kind of try to balance the car. And then down in here to Bruxelles, you've got the curb on the left hand side. You want to be braking just before that, give yourself a little bit of margin. Into No Name corner here, it's really just a lift off the throttle, and then down towards the fearsome Pouhon. Now the 50 metre board is your reference, but you can brake a good bit after it. It's very easy to get on the throttle too early here. Catch that curb on the outside or the AstroTurf on the outside and you will be going wide. End of the curb here is your reference, maybe braking just a little bit before that. Particularly as the tyres start to wear, you're going to have to adjust your markers and give yourself a little bit of margin. Now just before the curb here on the left hand side into Stavelot 1. Get the line right for Stavelot 2, it should be full throttle. If you don't get the line right you can catch that AstroTurf on the outside, which will again send you run wide. And now we're on the run down towards Blanchimont. The Blanchimont is at full throttle in this car. Keep it in 5th gear all the way up until you get to Blanchimont, maybe changing up to 6 just as you enter it, and then down towards the bus stop chicane. Now I'm braking just before the 100 metre board. Try to catch that curb on the inside, it will bring the car a little bit around. Over slow for the second part of the chicane, just to get the car nice and straight. Get on that throttle and maximise the Toyota's hybrid. That is a lap of Spa-Francorchamps in the Toyota TS050 with the brake balance at +3. And hopefully this has been a helpful guide from the start to finish. If you've made it to this point, thank you very much for sticking with me in the video. Should be an entertaining race with the strategy at the very least making it more entertaining than last time we visited this combo. So please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.